Hello guys, Raj here, back with another video. In this video, I'm going to talk about how to rock your whiteboarding design interview. I love whiteboarding both as an interviewer and interviewee, but I hear it all the time that whiteboard interviews are tough. So in this video, I'm gonna show you 6 steps that you can follow to succeed in your next whiteboarding design interview. But before I jump to those steps, let's take a look at why are whiteboarding interviews difficult and what generally interviewers are looking from your whiteboarding interview. Whiteboarding interviews are difficult because you really cannot bullshit your way out of it. So let me give you an example. Let's say over a telephonic interview, I ask the candidate, "Hey, how did you secure your design?" And the candidate can just talk about 10 different security things. And as an interviewer, it would be very difficult for me to know what security principles the candidate applied to each part of the design. So let's take the same example in a whiteboarding interview. So the design is on the whiteboard, and then I ask, "Hey, how did you secure this component of the design?" The candidate really has to know how to secure that part. He or she cannot just talk about 10 different security principles and get out of it. So you really have to demonstrate the clarity of thought. And the clarity of thought comes when you know your shit. So one thing to note, that whiteboarding in an interview is a little different than whiteboarding in your actual project. So in an interview, generally, the interviewer is trying to find these couple things during the interview. Number one, how do you approach a particular problem? Number two, what kind of questions do you ask to get into the details? Some more on this later. Number three, how do you articulate complex ideas? Like, how do you explain difficult concepts to other people? So let's get to the tips. My biggest tip to put you at ease is you do not have to do 100% of what the interviewer asked in the whiteboard to get the job. So I have got job offers even when I could not finish everything the interviewer has asked for. And I have offered jobs to the candidate even though the candidate could not finish 100%. The reason is a good interviewer is looking for your critical thinking ability. So let's say for some chance you got the exact whiteboarding problem that you have practiced 100 times. And then you just saying stuff, smooth, memorized. And a good interviewer will sense that. And he or she will always throw in some curveballs. They will add some requirements on top of what you are doing. Because the idea is to see how you approach a problem, how you think. So we know as an interviewer that it's impossible to design complex systems like, say, WhatsApp or YouTube in a 45-minute whiteboarding interview. What we are looking to see is how you approach those problems. So don't stress that it's all or nothing. All right, my number 2 tip is don't straight jump into solving the problem. What do I mean by that? So let me give you a real world example. Let's say you go to a nice clothing store and you are looking for a suit jacket, right? And the tailor comes and you ask the tailor, "I want the best suit jacket," right? A good tailor is not gonna go and come back with a jacket and say, "This is the best jacket." So a good tailor will always ask you follow-up questions like, the jacket you are looking for, is that for work or for casual wear? What kind of shirts or trousers you have? What are the general colors you wear? Are you going to wear this with jeans or khakis or a dress pant? So similarly, let's say the interviewer asks you, "Hey, can design me a YouTube on the whiteboard." Don't just jump into drawing it, right? Because it's impossible to do YouTube design in 45 minutes. Always clarify the requirements. So generally, when I whiteboard, I divide them into two areas. One is functional requirements, such as what are the features the interviewer is looking for. The user can upload a video, another user can view the video, users can search videos, right? But think of all the features YouTube has. Like you can dislike, you can comment, you can share. So define the scope that you are going to do in the interview. So the second thing is design considerations. Design considerations would be like, okay, this design has to be scalable, so that when a lot of users come in, it should not break. It has to be reliable. No videos should be lost. It has to be secure, right? So generally, I put all this in the whiteboard before I start drawing the design. And also it shows that you are thinking about the problem in a big picture way, not just diving right into the details. So my number 3 tip is keep it simple. Don't overcomplicate it. So let me give you an example. Let's say in your design, you have to use a virtual machine in the cloud, right? So don't go in that, okay, is this system memory intensive? So maybe you can use X series or R series. The EBS volume or the hard disk that you can use should be provisioned IOPS, and the IOPS should be 12,000 or something. And to accommodate those 12,000 IOPS, the size of the hard disk should be this much terabyte or something, right? Just draw a box and put EC2 in it and move on. And you can always dive deeper in detail if the interviewer asks you to for a particular area. Okay, so my tip number 4 is talk what you are thinking. The biggest reason people fail in whiteboarding design interview is they don't explain their thought process, right? Remember, this is to see how you can articulate effectively. Because when you take a job of an architect or a senior developer, you have to explain your ideas to multiple people. So always explain why you are choosing a particular design component. So if I want to give you an example, let's say you want to use NoSQL database in your design, right? Don't just draw NoSQL and then move on, right? Explain a little bit why you are choosing NoSQL over a SQL database. Another example could be if I go back to the YouTube design. For YouTube, you have to render multiple videos for multiple resolution, right? So you probably need to use some service. Let's say for AWS, you want to use AWS Elemental, right? So don't just put Elemental and just move on. Explain the rationale that, okay, so for YouTube, you need to have multiple resolution available. To do this, I think this service will be a good fit, hence I'm putting AWS Elemental. So my next tip is, if you don't know how to solve a requirement, engage the interviewer, see if there are alternate ways you can solve, and be honest about it. So let me give you an example. Let's say you put a beautiful design on the whiteboard, and the interviewer says, okay, how are you going to secure this design using native AWS services? Let's say the interviewer is looking to secure authentication authorization piece, and she's looking to see if you know AWS Cognito. But let's say you have no idea about AWS Cognito, but you know about OAuth 2. So you can say, so I don't know about the native AWS service, but we can secure this piece using OAuth 2, and I can run the OAuth 2 server in an EC2, which can run on AWS Cloud, right? And if the interviewer is okay, then you are good. But if interviewer keeps pressing on about the AWS native service, then be honest and say that, okay, you don't know that. Interviewers always appreciate when the candidate is honest. Don't just try to make up something, especially in the whiteboarding interview. So my tip number 6 is actually a collection of good whiteboarding practices. It's okay if you cannot master all of this, but you will look like a pro if you can implement some of this. So speak slowly and clearly, pause after important points. Draw first, then turn, then get out of the way so that the interviewer can see what you draw, and then talk. Don't talk while you are drawing or turning. Have icons handy for common design blocks. Like database. If you want to use a particular database icon, which are used a lot, practice it beforehand. Maybe lambda, you want to use a particular symbol. Don't just try to make up symbols or icons in the interview. If you don't know something, just put a block and then put the name in it. So I've mentioned a lot of stuff, right? So if you're new to whiteboarding or just started practicing for a whiteboarding interview, it's a lot. So how do you get better at that? It's the age-old cliche, practice, practice, practice. I'm gonna mention one of my very favorite quote. The master has failed way more times than the beginner has even tried. Alright guys, that is the video. Smash the like button and subscribe if you find this video useful. Let me know in the comment section if you want me to do an actual whiteboard of one of these design problems. Alright guys, see you later. Bye.